Well, that was
fun.
quite the power hour, or hours plural, Sheila. Obviously, the first question, as with any debate, who won, who lost?
I think Pierre Poilievre won.
I agree.
Charest lost.
I agree.
Aitchison is sick of everybody. He's sick of us. I feel like he's just bored.
Yes.
With being there and tired of the conservative movement. He just seemed to be like, you guys just got to get along. Like, I felt like he was the mom who's sick of her kids fighting all the time. Leslyn Lewis sounds like she's taken a Toastmasters course. Her level of public speaking, even from when I last saw her a couple of weeks ago, has seriously improved. And Roman Baber really was the only one to say, we got this wrong as a conservative movement. With regard to civil liberties, and he acknowledged the harm that not speaking out on lockdowns, on vaccine mandates, on the biomedical tyranny of the last 2 years soon enough has set the Conservative Party back, he said, a generation.
100%, Sheila. I think Charest came across very much as yesterday's man when he started saying, I don't want U.S.-style divisive politics.
Then why is he up there sounding like Hillary Clinton in a debate with Donald Trump?
But it's already here. I mean, has he been hibernating for 25 years? And I think he lost the room big time when he
got booed.
When he got booed about the trucker convoy.
Yeah. That
was a serious misstep. You can tell grassroots conservatives are on side of Team Trucker Convoy. Yeah. And so I don't know what prompted him to go down that road.
I think it's because he said it once, I think, to CBC. So how could he take it back? He just sort of has to stick with it.
Well,
when he did that interview that said that Pierre Poilievre's support of the trucker convoy should disqualify him from running for leader. How do you backtrack from that? You have to stick with it now.
You're right.
That is that toboggan all the way to the bottom of the hill, which he is.
And that's an example of cancel culture, isn't it?
Isn't it?
And I loved that Pierre Poilievre, and I say this in a good sense, he turned into kind of a new version of No More Comment Lady on Parliament Hill, which was his, I think he said it 17 times. How much? What was egregious about Jean Chrétien, and I'm talking about how much did he get from Huawei?
Jean Charest. You're wrong liberal.
Yeah. You know what? There's a Freudian slip. I mean, absolutely. I'm
wrong
sorry, folks.
Corrupt Quebec liberal.
Charest, Chrétien, but you can't tell the Jeans for the heck of it. But I think when not only did Jean Charest refuse to answer the question, but he flipped it to the most bizarre tangent about face coverings.
And that's the thing. Every time they sort of pivoted to Quebec's Bill 21 for some reason, first of all, why is that a federal issue? I guess because they care about civil liberties only when they're in Quebec. And only when they're affecting religious minorities, but not civil liberties when they're affecting, let's say, religious minorities in Alberta, Christians trying to go to church.
Yes.
They couldn't find their voices if their lives depended on it, as pastors are being hauled away in handcuffs.
Yep.
Church in the Vine was convicted yesterday afternoon of 3 counts and then 3 more for the pastor of violating public health orders. They face hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines. Not a peep from any of these people. Maybe Roman Baber might speak up if you asked him specifically on the issue. But they don't care about that, but they care about Bill 21, and it's the same issue.
Speaking of Roman Baber, Sheila, I got to tell you, he's saying all the right things, and ideologically, I very much agree with almost everything Roman Baber says. However, he did mention, when we have conservatives who swing right during leadership races only to go left during elections, and we saw that the last 2 leaders, of course, and he does not support cancel culture. He does support independent media. Here's where my spidey senses are tingling, because as you well know, Sheila, it's been very hard up until recently to pin down Roman Baber. Let me tell you something, folks. I was at the Ontario Legislature building, inside the legislature, back in October with cameraman Maurizio. I literally bumped into Roman Baber. Me, independent media. Me, like him, anti-cancel culture. Me, like him, who believes in true blue Toryism. And I said to him, because he had ignored all our requests for weeks on end about getting an interview, "Oh, Mr. Baber, since I'm here with my cameraman, do you have like 10 minutes? We can do a quick interview." And what he said to me, folks, was, "Oh, David, come on, you know that's not how it works." And I didn't know what he was talking about. I go, what do you mean?
You're a journalist. He's
Yeah.
a interviewee.
He says,
That's just
you
how it
got to
works.
go through proper channels. I go, proper channel? You're the guy. You, like you just said, I'm the interviewer, you're the interviewee. He goes, "David, come on. You know you've got to go through proper channel." I mean, what is he, Queen Elizabeth, for goodness sakes?
You
I
know
got to
what,
go
though?
through royal protocol?
Do you know what, though, to be fair? He's talking to us now.
Yes,
So,
but
you know, again, I said it before, I believe in redemption. Maybe he's changed his mind, he found his courage, and now that he's found it, I'm happy. I'm glad to see it.
Well, yeah, and I think he did promise to do Ezra Levant's show,
Yep.
but still no date even written in pencil. Scott Aitchison.
Aitchison.
Say it again? Aitchison. Sorry. What I found surprising is that he made news the other week with his condemnation of the supply management system in
Happy
Canada.
to hear it.
Oh, yeah. just like Mr. Bernier did back when he was still part of the Conservatives. And, of course, supply management that affects dairy, eggs, turkey, and chicken.
Yep.
And I'm very familiar with the system. It
But
is
not
like,
beef.
Not beef. No, it is almost like a Soviet-style cartel. You know, once upon a time, Sheila, I did an investigative report. I was working for a magazine called Canadian Hotel and Restaurant, because you talk about the food service industry. Do they ever get screwed by supply management?
Yeah.
This took 8 months of my life out of me, because this is 1993. There's no internet. I'm going to the Toronto Research Library. I'm getting microfiche. Oh, kids, you don't know how lucky you have it, where you're physically spooling through articles from
Not just going like this.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, you have no idea how much the internet has been a shortcut to research. But I did this report. I'm going to do a pat on my
Fine.
back. Okay,
I'm
you
here,
get a
I'll
pat
do
on
it
my
in
back.
person.
While our advertisers hated it and the magazine folded after, I think...
You killed a magazine?
I killed the magazine.
You're like Christopher Freeland in
But-
Reuters.
But get this, that article won an American Business Press award, which is an incredible rarity for a Canadian trade magazine, because, you know, you look at the budgets of American trade magazines versus Canadian, it's a slaughter. It's like NFL and CFL.
Yeah.
Anyways, I've investigated this article promptly, and I can tell you, folks, in the early days of supply management, it doesn't happen so much now. Do you know there were Kentucky Fried Chicken stores that were closing early because they literally had no chicken, right?
Oh, I believe it.
You know, this is a quota system in which a lot of the quota, be it for chicken, for dairy, it's not even owned by farmers. It's owned by Bay Street businessmen and lawyers, if you can imagine it.
Yeah.
And it stifles growth.
Lilydale.
Yeah, and he's come out against it. I'm surprised this wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
And secondly, why didn't he? I mean, for goodness sakes, if Jean Charest is raising face coverings and
From 2015.
Oh yeah, and the Barbarian Hotline as issues, what was stopping Scott from saying, for example, in terms of putting more purchasing power in the hands of Canadians in these days,
Fighting inflation.
Yeah, I'm going to dismantle. Now, he's going to get slaughtered by the dairy farmer cartel, especially for going out against
Poultry people
that.
will come for you.
100%. But why wouldn't he mention this? Because that was the only time I've ever seen his name in the news, as opposed to Charest, Leslie Lewis, and Pierre Poilievre.
I don't know. Maybe he was worried that he would get a little bit of the Maxime Bernier treatment from the party.
I would say
for
too
it.
late.
Yeah. Why say it if you're not going to stand by it?
100%.
It's really the only thing that I think sets him apart from a lot of the people on the stage.
I agree.
I'm not left with. I don't not like Aitchison. What did I describe him as? Spaghetti noodles with unsalted butter. I don't not like it. But I probably wouldn't choose it. I just, it's like vegetable lasagna. It's like fine, but that was my impression that he got. It felt like, the only thing I know really about Aitchison now is that he's really disappointed in us.
Yeah.
He's disappointed in everybody.
Yeah, I'm glad he didn't wear blue. He would have just blended into the background like
Yeah.
wallpaper, I think. But here's a question for you, Sheila, and I'll give you my answer to my own question. What was the one statement that made the needle on your internal bullshit detector veer hard into the red zone? I'll tell you what it was for me. It was Jean Charest when he was hobnobbing around the GTA. He mentioned the Conservatives only have 4 seats out of 53 in the GTA. And people at the door, the one thing burning on their mind was the Barbarian Practices hotline. Are
baloney.
you kidding me?
Baloney.
No. First of all, it's almost 10 years old.
Yeah, especially if you're talking, he said he's talking to new Canadians.
Yeah.
Well, they're not all new if the barbaric hotline is still on their agenda. They can't be all that new. That was like 2014.
100%. And by the way, is he implying that if he has something upsetting about barbaric practices, and I'm talking about female genital
Honor
mutilation,
killing.
honor killing, which we have had in this country, folks, well, you're doing a disservice to the immigrants that come here legally and want to embrace the Canadian dream and are leaving all that rubbish behind. I don't think this was a bad idea after all. If you knew your neighbor of culture XYZ, Sheila, was engaging in some kind of cultural mandate against their children, their spouse, their in-laws, what have you, I mean, well, why not call that hotline and rescue them?
It could have saved the Shafia girls.
There you go.
They could have called on their own.
Tangible example.
But I think Baber had a good response to that. If we are against snitch lines, then why were we for the COVID snitch lines?
That was a bases loaded home run out of the park.
Yeah, that was a Roman Baber home run for sure.
And that's why, like I said earlier, I agree, despite his snubbing of me.
Only the one time he doesn't, maybe it's you.
Oh, no,
he doesn't like.
we were sending out
I know.
requests.
I know.
But I
he's
agree with him ideologically, Sheila, 100%. But, please come as advertised. If you say you support the independent media, then, here we are, Rebel News, 1.6 million YouTube subscribers. Give us a break. Again, we talked about how Charest wouldn't answer the question. And you know what else I was surprised about? They brought up Patrick Brown. And
that's what you get for not being there, Patrick.
Yeah, but they only asked the question to 3 of the candidates. One of them, conspicuous by his absence, was Charest, because does not Charest and Patrick Brown have this non-aggression treaty?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, maybe this is too inside baseball. Did the Charest camp come into the debate and say, if you bring up Patrick Brown, that is a no-go zone for Mr. Charest? We have a non-aggression pact. Is that why he wasn't asked his opinion?
I don't know, or if that's just how they structured the questions, but I don't think Candace would let him off with that.
Oh, is that right?
I don't think Candace would be like, okay, fine, I won't ask you a tough question.
Right.
That does not sound to me like Candace Malcolm.
It was also interesting in the very early stages of the debate. Clearly, Leslyn Lewis was embracing a strategy. Maybe she was told to embrace a strategy by her team, Sheila, in which she was super feisty and her attacks were focused, as they should be, because I think he's the front runner, on Pierre Poilievre.
I think they have to be. Otherwise, she's just going to finish second.
100%. And you know what? I got to tell you, though, it fizzled out. She came roaring out of the gate, but I guess...
I think, though, when you're standing next to a murder, it's hard to maintain your momentum. You know what I mean? Standing next door and Pierre Poilievre is sending Charest home in an ambulance.
Yes.
It's a little tough to maintain your momentum. It kind of takes the wind out of your sails a little bit.
And, it was very interesting to see the debate going on between Pierre Poilievre and Jean Charest. And
he's masquerading as a conservative, Jean Charest.
Isn't that a thing of beauty? Jean Charest. That's beautiful. Versus Pierre Piledriver, based on his performance there. But I loved how he was was taking him to task for his record as a Quebec Liberal premier for 8 years, raising sales tax.
And he did make a good point, because a lot of the criticism leveled at Charest is because he ran as a Liberal, but that was the name of the party.
Yeah.
And so it's like the BC Liberals, where they're a right-of-center coalition party, not the Trudeau Liberals. And so I think Poilievre was really smart to point out, it's not because you were the Liberal premier of the Liberal Party of Quebec, which at the time there was no Conservative Party in existence. It's because you did Liberal things.
Yes.
And I thought that was good for him to point that out, because
still,
that's Charest's immediate, like, oh, it's because there was no Conservative Party. So I ran as a Liberal, but it wasn't really a Liberal, but you did Liberal things.
And
so.
what were those Liberal things? Raising sales tax twice.
Gun registry.
Fuel tax being raised. Health tax. Yes, and the long gun registry.
Blocking pipelines.
Yeah. So he
Blocking
called out the
gas.
BS. And I think you've already lost. Charest said this, quote, "Can I lay to rest this accusation that I'm a Liberal," end quote. If you have to say that,
Can I just explain to you why I'm not a serial killer?
Yeah.
Why you may have that wrong. Like, it's just so stupid.
It's the line from Rambo, uttered by Colonel Troutman. "It's over, Johnny. It's over."
Yeah.
So, anyways, so we have a consensus there. And it was very good to see also Roman Baber take a slam at CBC News, no longer being news propaganda arm. I think Atchison.
He sort of didn't read the room there either. When I'm going to keep parts of the CBC. We're going to rein in its mandate and make sure it's not a Liberal mouthpiece.
Yes.
Well, how do you do that? It can be whatever mouthpiece it wants to be.
100%.
I don't want to pay for it.
100%.
You can't control what sort of narrative or slant CBC has.
Yeah.
You can't control what they report. Like, that's not, the government should never control what somebody reports. All you can control is your role in keeping it going.
He said, "Don't burn down the CBC." I'm saying,
I don't want to burn down. I want to part it out. I want to part it out like an old minivan. There's salvageable parts that could be sold into the private sector. They probably have some good mics or something, maybe some cables that people want on, I don't know, Facebook Marketplace. But I don't think that the taxpayer needs to maintain it.
Hey folks, before you know it, September will be here. That's when the Conservatives are going to have their latest leadership convention. Do you want to get your news from the legacy media? I sure don't. And if you like the coverage we're bringing you, please go to leadershipreports.ca. That's leadershipreports.ca. And if you can chip in $1 or $3 to cover our expenses, we would greatly appreciate that.